Hey YouTube, this is Brian coming to you from Texas. Just wanted to do a little video of the guns I use for home defense. Again, this is a personal choice. A lot of people have different ideas as to what is best for home defense. One of the more popular ones is the 12 gauge shotgun. I subscribe to the idea that 12 gauge shotgun is really good for home defense. This is unloaded, obviously. Slide is back. I'm not going to pick it up and play with it. I've got the rounds outside just above the shotgun. So this is the 870 Remington HD home defense. It's matte black. It's a rough gun. You can pretty much toss it around. I hate to do that with any gun. I take care of them as if they're collector's items, each of them. But this one here you can store just about anywhere. It's a matte finish, so it's not really going to be harmed if you're rough with it. They say this has a 7-round tubular magazine. I've only been able to fit 6 in it. I choose not to keep one in the chamber, and you may laugh. I'm always afraid that if I have a gun dream, which I tend to have, they're pretty fun. You wake up half awake, half asleep, and you end up in the morning or at night with a hole in your door because you really weren't awake and you thought you were dreaming. So that's probably an irrational fear. Some people may laugh, but it only takes a second really to rack the slide on this and take the safety off. People will say every second counts, and I agree. Maybe it's irrational, but I keep my doors locked in my house, my bedroom door, all that stuff. So if I hear somebody breaking in, I have a fraction of a second, at least in my mind, to rack the slide and take the safety off. So that's how I usually have it here in the house. 6 rounds in the tube, hammer down, and it's on safe. So if I need it, I just rack the slide, take the safety off. The ammo that I use is Winchester. These are mil-spec double-aught buckshot. I've seen some stuff on the internet that the mil-spec round is just a marketing ploy by Winchester. It's really not military spec. I've also seen other reviews that this double-aught buckshot prints a bit better at moderate to longer distances. Again, in a home defense situation, you're not looking at long distances, but if someone's down the hall 10-15 feet away, I want to know that this buckshot's going to keep at least a somewhat steady pattern so that I'm not going through all kinds of walls with buckshot. So as with any home defense gun, you really want to test out the ammo you're using for home defense. And I took this to the range on paper to see where it printed. It was doing pretty good at 7 yards, 21 feet. Hopefully I'm not at that distance. A little bit closer, it's going to have a tighter group with buckshot anyway. So recoil's moderate with it. It's not really heavy. It's not like firing a slug through the 12 gauge or anything. It's probably between regular birdshot and slug. Packs a little bit of a punch, but obviously for home defense you don't want a weak cartridge. So that's my first go-to gun. Second, I have my Glock 22. This is the RTF version. If you don't know Glocks, there's the different generations. They're currently up to generation 4. And the RTF really kind of falls between generation 3 and generation 4. It's technically a generation 3 gun. The RTF is the rough textured frame. You probably can't see in this video, but the texture on the grip is actually pretty rough. I've seen some reviews on the internet. Some people have an issue with this if they have sensitive hands, and I've noticed when I fire 60 or 70 rounds continuously out of it, it will irritate my hands. Again, for a home defense weapon, it really doesn't matter how it looks. It really matters whether it functions properly. And I fired a little over 2,500 rounds through this 40 Smith & Wesson, and never had a failure to feed, failure to fire, stovepipe. I've had absolutely no issues, and that's with lots of different manufacturers' ammunition. So just based on that alone, I'm pretty set with knowing that this gun's going to function when I need it. I don't really care about looks when it comes to a home defense gun. The RTF model also has what they call fish gills on the slide there. They're not the normal slide serrations on Glocks, which are straight up and down. These kind of have an angle. They work just fine. They look funny. And again, I don't really care how it looks. I just happen to find this new in box at one of the gun shows here for a really good price. Unfired, and I took it. The only modifications I've done to this, obviously you can see here, I have a Glock Tactical Light. This is the GTL 22. That's the dimmable model. I'll show you what that means. I've added in here from Glockmeister the plate back here. Again, this is really, people say it keeps sand out from the grip of the gun and all that kind of stuff. I'm not really worried about that. I just didn't like the gaping hole it had here, and so this plate was like $7 or something. Slides right in, so I got that. And I also have the extended. It's unloaded, obviously. People on YouTube freak out. Extended slide stop here. I actually really like that. The standard Glock slide stop works just fine, but this I like it just a little bit better. It's not a carry gun, so I'm not worried about something snagging clothing or anything. It's home defense, so I want to make sure, especially if I'm in the dark, that I get a good hold of this if I need to fire more rounds. The other thing I've done here, I have the from Glockmeister, the tungsten guide rod. Glock comes with a polymer guide rod, and I've seen the torture test, as you probably have too. 1,000 rounds continuous, and one of the videos the guide rod snapped, but the gun kept firing somehow. I'm not worried about that. I'm not firing 1,000 rounds continuous. Just logically in my mind, I'm thinking you've got a polymer guide rod that bends and flexes, and this gun is meant to flex a little bit, but I'm just thinking tungsten or steel, something solid, is definitely not going to snap or break on me. I really don't think the polymer will either. It's just something in my mind to keep my mind at ease, knowing that it's never going to do that. Again, I put 2,500 rounds through this with no issues. What I keep here is, this is a standard 15-round magazine. This has Hornady tap hollow points in it. And what I keep in the gun is 15 plus 2 magazine, and this has Spear hollow points. I've seen reviews on both these hollow point rounds, and they're both really good from what I've seen. I think the Spear looked like it expanded a bit better in the media tests that I've seen, so that's what I choose to keep in the gun. Again, with my irrational fear, keep the magazine in. The trigger is pulled, so the striker is down. So if I need it, I just rack the slide and I'm ready to go. Let me show you this tactical light. It has different settings, and the one setting I like one feature I like, it's not actually a setting, is the dimmable feature. You'd use this toggle right here. You can see it move. It's on both sides. If you want to dim the light, starting out with low light and then gradually moving up to bright light, you just hold down the dimmer, and you'll see here it starts off like little low light and then goes all the way up to full blast. And as soon as I let go of the toggle switch, the laser turns on. You probably can't see that in this video, so I'll start over again and start with a small dim light, and when I let it go, laser shows up. Again, if you're going to use a laser for home defense, take it out to the range at about the distances in your home, and make sure that your laser is pretty much zeroed. I've done that. As well as on some of these polymer guns, the hollow points, people have said, sometimes they don't like to feed, depending on the manufacturer. So it's expensive, but take out your hollow points, fire a box or two through to make sure you have no issues. And with these two, at least in my gun, this Glock 22 RTF, I've had no issue with them. They've fed and they've fired just as normal. Over here, I like to call this my Alamo gun. This is my last ditch gun. I keep this in a different room in case something happens with my other two weapons, or I need to flee my bedroom for some reason. This gun's hidden in a different room, and the reason for that is I don't think this is my primary go-to gun. This is a Smith & Wesson Governor. It's kind of new. Again, it's unloaded. Six shots in this one, as opposed to the Taurus Judge, which has 5. The Taurus Judge also can't fire 45 ACP. The Governor can fire 45 ACP, and I have 2 clips here loaded with just Winchester self-defense 45 ACP rounds. What I keep in it normally are these PDX-1 Winchester shot shell 410. These have 4 copper discs and 12 copper-plated BBs. And that's what I usually keep in it, with the extra 2 clips just in case. The reason I don't use this as a primary weapon is, as you know, with shotguns, whether it's birdshot, buckshot, or this PDX-1 ammunition, a shorter barrel is going to spread out the BBs and the pellets and the buckshot at a higher rate. So if I go out at 20 yards or something like that, it'd be a tough stretch to get anything on a piece of paper, and even if it did, it's not going to penetrate very well. It loses its speed and power pretty quickly. So this is my last ditch gun. I'm figuring if I have to use this, I'm going to be pretty close to the assailant, and these 410 shot shells are going to do enough damage to stop the threat. 45 ACP, if you can see here, they pretty much come to here on the cylinder. So it's got this length of the cylinder to travel before it even gets to the rifling in the barrel. It's still accurate. Everybody uses that term differently. The gun is accurate. It's really the shooter. What I've noticed here at about 5 to 7 yards is it's a bit high for me, at least. Again, not really high. It's not like you're aiming at center mass and you're 4 feet high. It's probably about 2 or 3 inches high at that distance, at least in this gun. This comes standard with Hogue grips, and you probably see it here. Tritium front night sight, glows perfectly green when it's pitch black, which is good because at least then you know where the front of your barrel is angled or pointed. So this is really my last ditch gun. I think these are pretty good choices. Feel free to ask questions or make fun of my dream state, firing a hole through a wall, but that's just my personal choice, and hopefully the comments are good, and if you have any questions, let me know. Thanks.